Hi guys. Whoa. Welcome to A Moment in Time with Taylor. Mark first commented the broadcast on Periscope. We're live on YouTube as well. I go live on Periscope every single day, 7 days a week for 3 hours a day with positive content, and I hope that you will follow me or subscribe wherever you're watching. Follow me everywhere, subscribe all the places, that'd be pretty cool. Quick note to YouTube creators, I just noticed this when I was about to do this broadcast. You have to go into your advanced settings, so go to Channel, Settings, Advanced, and make sure that you update your status for your videos if they are made for kids or not made for kids, so that you don't have any interruptions in service on your channel. If you don't click one of those options, you'll have to pick it for every single one of your videos, so there you go. Yeah, that's a good point, Derek, actually. It was a very, very heavy episode of Survivor last night, and quite, I would say, the most depressing episode I've ever seen, and also triggered me quite a bit. Mark, thank you for the first Super Hearts of the broadcast, first comment and first Super Hearts. Mark, yes, you are still alive. You're not getting ignored. You're not getting ignored. I just wanted to spit all that out. The best way to support this channel, if you'd like to do that, is to click the link in the description, nextjuice.com/support. And thank you so much to all of these people who have supported over the last 30 days. No one has supported this channel on the website at all in the last 3 days, which is a bit disheartening, so I appreciate it if you guys haven't supported in a while, or you've been meaning to, or if you like this broadcast, if you want to just send like $5 or more, that'd be pretty sweet, and your name will be on here, and I'll shout you out every broadcast for the next 30 days. Alright, now, let's get to it. First thing, it was an hour-and-a-half long episode. Or no, I'm sorry, it was a 2-hour long episode. I thought it was an hour and a half, but I was already 30 minutes into it. So it was a 2-hour long episode last night. 2 tribal councils, so 2 immunity challenges, 2 tribal councils, and one person went to the Island of the Idols. So there's a lot to talk about. Let's just kind of dive in first with an overview of the cast, so we can get a feel for what this season is about, who's there, who's not, and we'll go from there. Someone just emailed me. If you're in the broadcast right now, yes, that is my email address. Okay, so here we go. So this episode, or this season, is called Island of the Idols. They have 2 Survivor idols, former winners of Survivor, Sandra and Boston Rob, and they are there on a separate island to give advice and mentorship to each of the islanders, or to one islander at a time. Now, I don't know how often it is in Survivor time, but for the viewers, it's pretty much every other episode. They show you someone going to Island of the Idols, and then every alternate episode, it's a reward challenge. And a reward challenge means a challenge where the winner wins a reward, and an immunity challenge is when the winner wins immunity and cannot get voted off of the island. I'll not survive. Oh wait, I thought you said you won't survive, but you said you will survive. I was trying to sing. Anyway, hi Cher. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. David, hi. Say which player has who. Okay, so a few of us, our friends, have been playing a little game. I'm not promoting this. You guys can't participate. This is totally like separate in the past thing that we did with friends. But Derek's here and he's part of it, so I'm going to just kind of mention which of our friends is associated with which of the people that are still remaining on the island. So 18 of us all randomly assigned one of ourselves to one of the Survivor contestants. So whoever wins Survivor, whichever one of us is attached to that person, wins our little game among friends. So it is a lot like Big Brother Tom. Yeah, or Thomas. Do you prefer Thomas? How's Heidi doing, by the way? I know she was having some difficulty. I think actually we should do that game for Big Brother. I think that'll be a lot of fun for the next Big Brother season, but for now, we're talking about Survivor. She is, Mark. All right, so the first person voted off the island was this guy, Ronnie. Nobody was attached to him. We didn't do it until there was 2 people already voted off the island, so Lauren is still there. She's attached. Let's see if I can do it off the top of my head. She's attached to Gina. Actually, I'm just remembering as I'm doing this that I didn't update my spreadsheet with all of our names and everything on it. So let me just do that real quick so I don't forget. Because 2 of us lost this. Oh, I did the wrong thing. What am I trying to do? There it is. So now there's how many people left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, if I'm counting right. So 13 people went to the merge, and now there are 11 left. So last Derek. So last week was the last pre-merge tribes. There was 2 tribes, and the last person to go was Jack, who was attached to my boyfriend. And then they had the merge. So everyone else made it to the merge, and we'll go over who that is now. So Elizabeth is attached to Daniel. Molly's already gone. She was the second person gone, so she also wasn't attached to any of our friends. Missy is Oh My God, Hi Casey. She's still there. Janet is Wolf Puppy. She's still there. Kelly is Frankie, and she made it to the merge. I'll just say it like that. Dean is Lisa Sansusi, and he's still there. Tom was our club, and he has been voted off. Hey, Stoney. Jason is Danny Bruno. He was voted off. Erin is my friend Amanda from high school, and she is still there, or he's still there, I should say. Vince was Sonam. He was voted off. Jack was my boyfriend. He was voted off. With some Survivor hacking. I'm not hacking anything, I swear. So if you're wondering, yeah, I do sometimes go live from my computer so I can actually share my screen from you guys like that. Ed got jacked. Yeah, he did. That was a really good episode. I actually really, really liked last week's episode. Last night's episode, I actually ended that episode feeling very, deflated. That's why I didn't do the recap last night. I needed to process and sleep on it and give myself some space and some time away from that issue to be able to come to you guys with fresh energy to talk about it, because it's very controversial, and I think some of the things I say are going to be somewhat controversial as well, and we'll get to that when we get to that. So let's just look at the cast for a moment. Hi, Kim. Karishma is Mark Gage. She's still there. Nora is Derek, who's in the chat right now, and she's still there. Tommy is Steph Taylor Live, and he's still there. Jamal is me, and I made it to the merge. And Dan is Dan on Fleek, and he's still there. Elaine is Matthew Gold, and she's still there. And Chelsea was Asif, and she was voted off. This season has been unprecedented. I don't know if it's unprecedented. I don't watch Survivor that much, but it's crazy the amount of blindsides that have occurred this season, as well as people getting sent home with idols in their pocket. You didn't like Jamal. Well, I guess you don't have to worry about that now. Have you tried out for Survivor, or do you want to try? No, definitely not. You don't like Dan. Interesting, okay. It's Dystonia fundraiser weekend now, Friday through Sunday. Cool. And what about Big Brother? I just started watching Big Brother last season, and I just started watching Survivor last season as well. So I've just recently gotten into these shows, and I've been starting to just explore with this season of Survivor, broadcasting about the episodes every week and recapping it, and then we're also playing a little game among friends, off of Periscope, but that's goes along with Survivor. So that was just recapping who's there, who's attached to who's still there, and who's been previously voted off, not considering for last night's episode. So I thought I was going to remember everything that was going on, because I have a pretty good memory, but now I gave it more than 24 hours, so I'm definitely going to forget some stuff. So if you guys want to help, if you have some things that I'm overlooking or forget to bring up, please let me know. Hi, Jess. Your wife says you should try it for Big Brother. A few people have told me I should do that as well. I'd much rather be on Big Brother than Survivor. I'm not interested in going on Survivor. Hey, Petrovich. Hi. Hello. Okay. So there was something right in the beginning. So the blind side. See, there was two. It was 2 episodes in one. I have to think back to. So they were upset. Oh, the whole thing with Jack. So Jack, so it started out where they're all coming out of tribal council from when Jack got sent home, when Jamal used his idol on Nora. You heard that right, Derek? I saved you, even though you didn't need me to save you at all. I wasted my idol on you. That's neither here nor there now. We'll get to that in a moment, but I'm just want you to realize that I used my idol to save you because I thought that's who Dean was voting for, and instead Dean and Nora voted for Jack, which is just, okay, so here's what happened. They're all in last night's episode. They're all talking around the fire afterwards, and Jamal's really upset because Jamal was blindsided, and Jack was his closest ally, and he didn't realize that he was even being talked about to go home. So he was caught off guard by it. Now he understood how Dean voted for Jack because Jack had been lying to Dean's face about voting for Nora when in reality they were all voting for Dean. Or was it Nora or... Yeah, Nora. He told Dean, oh yeah, we're definitely voting for Nora, and he lied, so Dean wanted to get him back. That made sense. Unfortunately, there was a second vote for Jack. So Jamal just says, who else voted for Jack? Who else wrote Jack down? Everybody's pretty quiet. And then Nora just goes like, well, I did. Some people told, and he goes, why did you write down Jack? And she's like, well, some people told me like maybe I should do that. And she does not have a poker face. And he's like, well, who told you that you should do that? She's like, well, I don't want to say any names or anything. So Jamal said, well, you have two choices. You can either, and let me show you who I'm talking about here. So the person who got sent home was Jack. The people who wrote his name down were Dean. Now, Dean used an immunity idol to protect himself. Every single person in the tribe wrote down Dean's name with the exception of himself, obviously, and Nora. Now, what happened was that Kelly actually gave Dean her immunity idol. So he played the immunity idol that Kelly gave to him. And then Kelly told Nora to write down Jack's name just in case there was some issue and someone voted for someone else. They just wanted to make sure Jack was going to go home. So Nora ended up ratting Kelly out. Oh, and so Jamal was all upset and he's asking these questions. So he says to Nora, you have two choices. You can not tell me and that will have its consequences. You can tell me and that will also have consequences. He's like, whatever you decide to do right now, it's going to have consequences either way. So I'm just going to ask you one more time, who told you to write down Jack's name? And she's like, it was Kelly. I'm just going to say it was Kelly. She just keeps saying it, so, and Jamal knows that she's telling the truth. So Kelly's like, whatever, she's talked to Jamal. She's claiming, no, that's absolutely not true. I didn't do that. She's crazy. I don't know what she's talking about. And Jamal's like, yeah, I don't believe you. So, but Janet said that she did believe Kelly, which was weird to me. Janet's like, no, I totally believe you. Yeah, she must be like making that up. And Jamal's like, I don't know what I think right now. This is pretty weird. So that all happens right prior to the merge, and then they go out and they look for idols. So Dean and Jamal had both played idols at the previous night's tribal council, so the next morning everyone's out searching for idols just openly. Usually they'd kind of try to search for idols on the DL. Not that morning. They were like, there's idols on this island, we're gonna find them. And they go out and they look for idols. Well, Kelly finds another idol. So she actually finds an idol while she's out searching. Now she has an idol to replace the one she had just used to protect Dean. And I will just take a moment to say to Dean that Kelly did save your life. She protected you with her idol. She gave it to you and used it on you. Not use it on you, but gave it to you to use on yourself. And we'll get to why that's relevant a little bit later on. So am I forgetting anything before I go to the next part here, before we get into the merge? Am I missing anything pre-merge? If you guys want to say anything. Yeah, Dean is... Roll my eyes. Okay. So I'm going to start moving on, but if I forgot anything, just go ahead and pump it into the chat. Oh, I'm totally not reading the YouTube chat. All right, nobody's saying anything on YouTube anyway, so let's move forward. Okay, so the merge. The merge is when the two tribes become one. They remove their buffs, and now they're all on one tribe, but they're all fighting individually for themselves. So now it's not tribal challenges, it's one-on-one challenges, individual challenges. However, what this comes with is a big feast. So they get to have a bunch of food and drinks, and they're all having this great time. They're all getting to know each other, some people who didn't know each other, and they're all over the place. I had a hard time tracking with who's targeting who, what's going on, what's happening here. Now we see an old relationship, an old stressed, negative relationship be rekindled here. So I talked about this a lot the first episode, and I've mentioned it, I've alluded to it a few times since, and this totally exploded and amplified in a huge way on this episode last night. And this is a relationship between Kelly and Dan. So Dan, on episode 1, was very touchy-feely. Kelly really didn't like that. They showed many clips of Dan being touchy and touching people and giving people back rubs, and it seemed like the general vibe was that people were uncomfortable with that. But Kelly was the primary person who was the most uncomfortable with it. She really didn't like it. I think she said she was a germaphobe or something like that. So that we kind of we've been seeing him touch people and do things, and it kind of like, I've been saying he has no sense of personal space, he's very like touchy, and then when the swap happened, when they switched tribes and the tribes got all mixed up, him and Kelly got separated into 2 different tribes. So they haven't been together for a few episodes now, and he was on a new tribe with 2 new women, with multiple other women, but these 2 are most important for last night's episode. And that was Missy and Elizabeth. And Lauren, but she didn't come into play as much as these 2, Elizabeth and Missy. So these 2 were making a lot of jokes privately. Now, keep in mind, Kelly didn't tell Dan she was uncomfortable with him touching her. Neither did Missy nor Elizabeth. They didn't, as far as I can tell, as far as what they showed us, they didn't tell Dan to his face, I'm uncomfortable, please don't touch me like that, it makes me uncomfortable. Kind of creeps me out, to be honest. I just feel like I need a little bit more space from you. So many things I want to say. So Missy and Elizabeth were like jokingly telling their friend Tommy, Tommy's the redhead guy, in an earlier episode about how he is inappropriate at nighttime. They've showed this same clip multiple times of there's a girl sleeping next to him, and then he like puts his arm and leg over the top of her, and he basically spoons her. He's basically like cuddling her, and the girls are uncomfortable with this, so they say. Now, they don't tell him that, but they joke about it with each other and Tommy and Lauren, and they kind of say, oh, yeah, exactly, Matt, exactly. So they're kind of like, oh my god, it's so much, he's like, his hands are everywhere, and like, they're like saying it like they don't like it, but they're also kind of laughing about it, like they're like, oh my god, this guy's so like, almost socially awkward, right? Like, this guy just keeps touching me, like, what's up with this dude? Rather than saying to him that, you know, I don't like this, please don't touch me. Very gray area. You can see this issue that we're treading into here, and kind of like what the trajectory is. So I'm going to put that on the back burner for a moment while I finish talking about that first episode, because it became much more amplified in the result of the vote for this. So do I want to talk about it now? I'll just quickly mention Kelly wanted to target Missy. So again, just for people who don't really like remember names or haven't been tracking it, Kelly went to Harvard. She wanted to target Missy. I think a lot of this has to do with Missy being an alpha female and Kelly wanting to kind of be that role. She wants to be in charge. She sees Missy as a big threat, so she wants to try to get Missy out as soon as possible. So she actually starts getting very close to Missy. She spends hours with her on the beach talking about life, talking about Dan and her discomfort with Dan, and Missy agreeing that, yeah, Dan's very touchy-feely but inappropriate. And what ends up happening is Lauren knows about the plan with Kelly. So I don't know if, I forget if Kelly told Lauren directly, or if it had to do with Tommy. So Lauren and Tommy are very close. So this is Tommy, the redhead, and Lauren is here. No, Mark. Hey, Vince, yeah. So they're very, very close. And I think Kelly told Tommy, I don't remember if she told Lauren or not, she told Tommy about her plan to get Missy out. And he thinks this is interesting because I don't think he actually wanted to get Missy out. He had brought up a few ideas. He was like, okay, well, maybe this, or maybe this, maybe we'll go for this person. And Kelly just being like, no, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't think I want to do that. No, we're going to go after Missy. Missy's going to be our target. So they were not... it seemed to me like Tommy wasn't in a good spot because he had a lot of ideas. He wanted to make moves. He wanted to do these things, and he really doesn't have any pull. He's not a very good salesperson. He's not very persuasive. He wasn't really getting anyone to go with what he wanted to do, and everyone's just kind of turning him down, and it seemed like he was in a bad spot. Well, that didn't really pan out the way that I thought it was going to. Ellie, thank you so much for the super hearts. Hey, Ash, thanks. So, Lauren, with this information that Kelly is targeting Missy, and then Tommy and Lauren see, okay, well now Kelly's over there with Missy on the beach, and they're best friends now. So what's going on with that? If she's targeting her, why is she spending so much time with her, pulling her aside and acting like they're best friends? So Lauren just says to Missy, listen, So Lauren here says to Missy, she's putting your name down. She's targeting you. You are the one that she wants to get out. 100%, I'm telling you the truth. And Missy's like, well, then why would she pull me aside? Why would she talk to me for so long? And she's like, well, do you feel good with her now? Do you feel safe? Like, do you feel like she's targeting you? Missy's like, okay, good point. So now Missy's like, well, I'm not going down without a fight, so I'm going to target Kelly. Well, Missy is much more successful at that, because I don't know about completely, because we don't get to see everything that happens. But I don't speak French, so if you can stop speaking French, that would be great, because I don't know what you're saying. Missy and Aaron are very close allies. I feel like even borderline showmance, but I don't know. I mean, that's just the whole male-female dynamic. That's just me being very stereotypical, saying, oh, well, a guy and girl are friends, it must be a romance, which is BS and may not be the case. For all I know, either one of them are gay or both gay or in serious relationships. I don't know. I'm just saying that it seems almost like a showmance. Like, they're very close. So he's a very strong competitor. He won immunity on both of the challenges, both immunity challenges on last night's episode, and is definitely a fierce competitor. So he has some say. He's an alpha. He likes to make moves, and she's that same way for the females. So they're a pretty powerful duo there, and I don't know if that may have helped to kind of convince the tribe. So a lot of the tribe wanted to vote for Kelly. It was pretty much 50-50 for a lot of people were going to vote for Kelly, and a lot of people were going to vote for Dan. So the Dan situation came about with the discomfort. So what ended up happening, Kelly was really uncomfortable, the most uncomfortable from what I could tell. Kelly talks to Missy on the beach, like I just said, and she says, he makes me pretty uncomfortable. And Missy says, yeah, he's pretty uncomfortable. Then the details here for me are a bit foggy, so if you guys watched it and you can help me clarify it, that would be pretty cool. But from what I think I remember, there's Janet. So they want Janet to get involved. They view Janet as almost like a mom, like she protects the girls. That's how they present it to her anyway. And Elizabeth, I think basically what happened was, like, Elizabeth and Missy had this conversation, and they made this plan where, here's the deal, what their plan was that they were going to target Kelly, but they were going to let Kelly believe that Dan made them feel very uncomfortable as well, so that they were all going to vote for Dan, because Dan makes them feel uncomfortable with the way he touches them. They're almost like frightened. They're uncomfortable, okay? They're uncomfortable with the way that he touches them. That is, to me, and especially disgusted me, and I'm sorry, I'm sure this girl is a fine person outside of this moment, we all have our moments. They showed a clip of them having this conversation, and Elizabeth was smiling this kind of smile that was, like, very devious, very mischievous, and honestly just straight up disgusting to me. Because you are going to lie about how this guy makes you feel and how he's touching you inappropriately, which she did not feel, apparently, so that you can progress in the game of Survivor. You're going to basically accuse this guy of touching you in a bad way because you want to win Survivor. Now, I know $1 million is a lot of money, but I also know the way that you're smiling, like this whole plan that you guys have, they were saying, like, okay, this is the story. This is what we're going to say. We're going to go to Janet. We're going to get her on board. Everybody's going to vote for Dan. And I thought they were actually voting for Dan. I was actually convinced they were all actually uncomfortable with this guy, because that's kind of how the editing and stuff for the previous episodes seemed to be building up to, that he was making people uncomfortable, and therefore they were going to get him out because they didn't want him around anymore. Now, hey, Mike. Hey, Danny, or Sully. So, Janet likes Dan. So, here's who I'm talking about. Hey, Bit. Janet is 100% comfortable and has no problem with Dan. However, all these different girls come up to her and say, Dan's making all the women uncomfortable. We're really uncomfortable, and we want him out of here. So she decides, okay, well, this isn't about She even said, this isn't about Survivor. This isn't about getting Dan out because he's a target or he's a threat or anything to do with Survivor. This is about removing Dan from the situation because he's making these women feel uncomfortable, and I'd like to prevent that from happening. And that's not okay. If you've ever run a business and had that situation, if there's a guy or girl in your company who's making other people feel uncomfortable, like potential sexual harassment, then you remove that person as soon as possible. You know, it's hard because this is what the Me Too movement is getting criticized for, is that all someone has to do is say they feel uncomfortable or say something happened, and that person can be removed from the equation. And that was the problem, really, a big problem of, really the main problem of last night's episode, was that they were targeting Dan for making them uncomfortable, which I think is okay initially, if he's actually making you uncomfortable. What's not okay is lying and saying that he's making you feel uncomfortable physically by the way that he touches you, and that you're not comfortable sleeping at night. They were telling them, we haven't slept in days. We haven't slept in weeks because we have to sleep next to him and he's always touching us in our sleep and we can't sleep. And if that's true, okay, then you should definitely voice those concerns. Primarily, hopefully, to the person who's making you uncomfortable. But you shouldn't make up a story like that. I think that crosses the line. You know, you do have a social aspect to the game. You know, people are going to lie, they're going to betray. But to make up something like that on national television, it's really dirty and low, and I didn't like that at all. It made me feel sick, really sick. Like, I felt really down after watching this episode, and you could see that Survivor and CBS were having the same kind of situation. They were like, oh great, now there's like, you know, they know about the Me Too movement. They're like, they were taking extra precautionary measures and showing it to release themselves from liability, but also showing more of the whole picture. So what they did, they showed Kelly having a private conversation. Kelly's the one who's the most uncomfortable with him. With the producers. The producer says, well, you know, if you're uncomfortable with him, we can do something about that. We don't want you guys to feel uncomfortable like that. That's not okay. We're not going to allow that to continue. So if you're really uncomfortable, it's really a problem, we can take care of it. This is her chance to have the person who's making her uncomfortable removed from the situation, potentially. And she said, no, she's like, I think now that Janet is here, it's going to be okay. Like, Janet is going to protect her and take care of everything. So that was interesting to me. Like, they're telling you, I can remove this guy from the situation, which not only makes you feel more comfortable, but also increases your chances of winning Survivor, because this guy is now getting forced out of the show because he's making people uncomfortable, which, if that was really happening, like, let's say he was groping people or molesting people, I guess molesting, groping, same kind of thing, sexually harassing people, sexually assaulting people, raping people, yeah, he should be removed from the show. He shouldn't be able to win $1 million. Like, if he's even just harassing people, then yeah, I think he should be removed. However, they chose not to take that opportunity. We're talking about the game of Survivor in person, okay? These people are in person on an island together, sleeping near each other. So the producers end up having, and I don't know in what order this ends up happening, but the producers at some point, they talk to every single member of the cast, and they tell them about what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. They kind of have like conversations with everyone, and they took Dan aside privately, one-on-one, and told him, hey, what you're doing is making people uncomfortable, you need to stop. Now, I don't know exactly when that happened, but that's interesting that they got that interventionist. Now, I'm sure they intervene a lot more than we realize, but they showed a lot of that intervention. Now, even during the tribal council, it was the second tribal council, actually, but Jeff Probst, the host of Survivor, was very adamant about this, and he kept interrupting. He was controlling a lot of the narrative. I mean, he said, you know, Kelly came forward with this story, and you know, this is how Janet perceived it, and she did what she did because of what she was told, and you know, maybe some other people said some stuff too, which is like, he would not normally do that, but this was something that they really were trying to take pretty seriously. Like, this is not okay. Now, obviously sexual assault, sexual harassment, rape, these things are not okay. Is it okay to tell someone that you feel sexually harassed by someone else to try to manipulate what happens to that person? I don't think so. I don't think that's okay at all. I think that's exactly a big part of, not the only reason, but a component of why people are afraid to come forward, because people will say, well, why didn't you say something, or why didn't you say something earlier, why didn't you say something to me, why didn't you tell this person, why didn't you tell them to stop, why didn't you say the word no, all these things. And it's like, and because other people, it shows right here in Survivor, here is a group of women, not necessarily a large group, but at least 2 women who decided to fabricate a story about their discomfort about a guy in order to get an advantage. That's deep. That's a real problem. That shows that women can lie about this kind of stuff. And men, right? Men or women. I keep saying women, but this is like the Me Too movement is primarily women, right? Women are the most reported victims of sexual assault and harassment. That's heavy, 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 heavy stuff. Because I don't think you should do that. I don't think you should make up stories to get yourself ahead. If you think some guy's annoying at work, you shouldn't say, well, he's been touching me, or he's been saying these things to me, if he isn't. Now, if he is, and it actually is making you uncomfortable, then yeah, you should be able to bring that up. But you shouldn't make it up just because you're trying to win a game, or because you're trying to get a promotion, or whatever it might be in the real world outside of Survivor, I'm sure it happens a lot. I'm sure that happens in real life a lot, especially nowadays. It's intense, right? So, that's most of what I wanted to say about that, was that Dan seemed a little creepy. However, in this case, I felt the girls were in the wrong. I didn't see any evidence of them telling him at any point that they were uncomfortable. He even said, and this gets more, I don't want to give away too much out of order, but he even said they were coming up to me, asking me to crack their backs, and choosing to sleep next to me every night. They didn't need to do that. And let me just I'll put that. Like I said, okay, I'm gonna put a pin in that, and we're gonna figure out the results of the first tribal council. So half of the tribe's going in thinking, okay, we're voting for Dan. Another half thinks we're going in voting for Kelly. People are searching for idols that morning, and Kelly finds another idol. So Kelly had just found an idol the morning before, and then she manages, I don't even remember exactly what was happening. She just went out to see if there was another idol, and boom, found another idol. So this girl's got 2 idols now. It's the 3rd idol she's gotten on the season. The first one she gave to Dean to use and protected him. Now she has 2 idols in her pocket. Well, she didn't get the message that people were going to be voting for her. I didn't say what the challenge was. So the first challenge, the immunity challenge, I did say that Aaron won. So Aaron won the first immunity challenge. Aaron is the big muscly dude here. And he won the first challenge. The first challenge was they had to hold, they were basically in a really long-term squat. They had to basically squat down a little bit, and they were standing on yoga blocks. Can you see those pink blocks behind me there? They're kind of they were like that, like blocks standing on each one of those under each foot, but not the way they're laid right now. They were like this. So they were standing, their foot like that on these 2 different blocks. They were probably wider than what I'm showing, and they weren't made of foam. They were heavier duty, but it's hard to stand on that little surface and for any period of time, let alone squatting down, holding almost think a wheelbarrow handles, and then there was a platform instead of a wheelbarrow. It was just the handles of a wheelbarrow, and then it was a flat platform with 3 balls on it. And the balls were balancing, so if you moved too much, the balls would roll away. And they had these pins under the ball, so if you went down too much, the pins would push the ball up and out. So it was you had to try to stay very, very, very still. And Aaron ended up winning that challenge. So that was exciting for him. So they go to the tribal council. Kelly has no idea that people are writing her name down, And she ends up being, open that up. She ends up being the next person voted off of the island for Survivor this season. Hey there, Chris, with 2 idols in her pockets. What the hell? Sorry, Frankie, your girl's gone. That is 2 idols in her pockets. So that makes, let's count. Let's see, how many people do we have? So that's now 1, 2, Vince went home with an idol in his pocket. 3, Chelsea went home with an idol in her pocket. So that's the 3rd person to go home this season with an idol in their pocket, and 2 idols in her pocket nonetheless. So that was kind of hilarious and kind of sad. It was a bit tragic because she could have easily saved herself and didn't use it and ended up going home. So the next, that night is when a lot of this blew up about the whole Dan thing. Janet was pissed because Janet had voted for Dan thinking all these girls were offended by him and uncomfortable with him. And she liked Dan. She had no problem with him prior to this. And they had basically played her and duped her into thinking that. And she was pissed, as I was as well, because that's not right for you to say that, you know, for you to say that this guy makes you uncomfortable and then say that he doesn't. So Janet tells Dan, like, listen, this is what they all said to me. I said that I decided to make a moral call. That's not okay if they're not comfortable. I think that that's the most important thing. And he's like, you know, he says the thing, they want me to crack their backs. They're like, they don't seem to have any problem with me. This is total news to me. This is like so scary. Like, I can't believe they even felt this way. So he wants to talk to them. He talks to the girls, and the girls tell him, no, Dan, we have no problem with you. Sick. It was sick. It was disgusting. It was hard to watch. No, oh my God, Dan, we sleep next to you every night because we want to. They're like touching his arm. They're pushing him. Dan, you know, they had like this long hug at the end. No, Dan, we love you. If you made us uncomfortable, we would have told you. I was appalled. I could not believe that what I was seeing, that this was happening like this. It was just, so just skeevy. So Janet goes out and sleeps by herself on the beach. By herself, just no shelter or anything, just on the beach. And Aaron and Missy wake up early. So let me recap who I'm talking about here. Okay, I asked you to stop speaking French, and I don't know what you're saying, so. So Aaron, first hang on, Janet. Where's Janet? So Janet goes out and sleeps on the beach by herself. She's all outcast now. They're all saying basically like Janet like blew the whole thing up, which is bullcrap. And then Aaron and Missy wake up really early in the morning to go search for idols. Well, they don't know Janet's out there on the beach, so they're like talking about idols and everything, walking. They have like a shovel and big stick, and they're walking right past her, and she goes, oh, where are you guys going? And they're like, for a walk. Just lie right to her, so she's like, whatever. So she follows them. She ends up losing them and goes into the woods and looks for an idol by herself and finds an idol. Listen, I saw Dan touching everybody. I saw him touching the guys. You know, he's a touchy-feely dude. I wouldn't like that. I would be uncomfortable with that. I would feel similar to how Kelly felt. And I would think to have just told him not to do that. I'm a very forward, kind of confrontational person. I'm not afraid of conflict or saying something that might make someone uncomfortable if I think it needs to be said. I probably would have done it in private, not in front of the whole group. And in Survivor, that could risk your social chance. But I think being honest and upfront and forthcoming with someone, like, I'd be like, you know, I know you don't mean anything by it. I know you're happily married. You know, like, I know it's probably just the way that you are, but it makes me a little uncomfortable. I'm not really like a touchy-feely person like that. It makes me a little uncomfortable. So it's not you, it's me. Like, if we can just keep a good space cushion between us and still be friends and still work together in this game, like, that would be awesome. I really hope we can do that. Wasn't that hard to make up something right now in 5 seconds I'm also not in the situation, but I've been in the situation before, and I have verbalized, you know, don't touch me. I don't want to be touched. Like, it doesn't bother me to say that. Maybe some other people are more uncomfortable with that, but that's neither here nor there. I will also say that Kelly, before she left, was complaining about how Dan was touching her and all this stuff, and she said he he like reached into my hair and was like trying to massage my scalp. Now, I don't know if that is the scene that they showed next, but they showed a quick clip of what I think they thought she was talking about. And they're walking, her and Dan are walking down the beach together, and she's like, oh, I need to wash my hair. And she goes like that, and her hair is kind of like big. It's like all like, my hair doesn't really do that. My hair's kind of flat. But she's like, oh, I really need to wash my hair. And he just like kind of grabs just her hair. From what I could tell, it didn't even look like he touched her at all, just her hair. He kind of like goes like that. Like he kind of just goes like, mwah. He was kind of like trying to, I don't know, feel like if it was greasy, or I think he said he wanted to feel if there was like a lot of sand in it or something. And he was like, oh, you know, just like kind of like trying to say whether or not he thought she needed to take a shower, you know, or wash her hair. And she's like, no, Dan, ew, no, get away from me. And she like runs into the water, and he's like, I'm sorry. He's like, my hands are clean. I just washed my hands. You know, he had like no awareness that like she just didn't want to be touched. But also it didn't really seem like he touched her. Like she said he was trying to massage her scalp. Like, I mean, maybe his hand touched her head. I don't know. But from the clip that they showed, it looked like he just kind of like tousled her hair, but not even like, it was really, her hair was really like, it was volumized, and it didn't look like he even touched her hair. It looked like he was kind of just like saying whether or not her hair seemed dirty, like, which I wouldn't really like either. Someone touches my hair. Some people don't like having their hair touched, but you don't want to exaggerate these things to say oh, this guy's trying to massage my head when he's like touching your hair, you know. It's just like, he touched my hair and it was weird. I didn't like it, you know. You're right, that is your last comment. Why were you here for so long? I don't even understand that. Oh, internet. So many trolls, so little time. Asking me about the way I spend my time while they are trolling on the internet. Solid comment, bro. No one can touch my already difficult curly hair. Yeah, so you might not want to have your hair touched, but again, don't exaggerate and say someone's trying to give you a scalp massage when they touch your hair because you just touched your hair and said, I need to wash my hair. And then they're like, no, I think you're fine. You know, it's like almost like he was trying to be nice. Like, no, your hair's fine. Whatever. Derek. Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, the worst part was how all the girls were just making it seem like Janet was basically like making it up. They said, oh, I just needed to tell her, I just needed to agree with her to get her off my back. Like, Elizabeth, you disgusted me this episode. I liked you just fine up until this. I mean, you definitely seemed like very emotional and kind of like manic, like very excited. I don't think that you're going to make it to the end, but I mean, it's impressive that you're an Olympic gold swimmer. I mean, you know, medal earner for swimming. Like, that's really cool. I mean, you did really well on the challenges. You're strong. It's really awesome. But don't be a crappy person. I mean, don't let $1 million turn you into someone you don't want to be. Okay? And it's easy for me to say, because I'm not trying to get $1 million. Who knows what I would have done in that situation. I've never been in that exact situation. I don't want to be hypocritical. But I do want to say that as an observer, it seemed pretty messed up to me that you would just lie and lie and lie and lie in these types of ways. So we'll see how that works out. So the next immunity challenge ends up being, most of this episode I really felt like did focus on that issue. So we've covered most of that at this point. I've been live for about 45 minutes. That's not bad. So then the next immunity challenge was an exercise where they were standing with their hands behind themselves, holding onto a handle. You can't really see my hands. They were holding onto a handle. Let's say if this was the handle. Okay, so they're like holding onto a handle like this, and they're standing on these rolled up, almost like a rolled up beach yoga mat, it looked like. And they're mounted to a dock, but it's like rolled. It's like if you look at the yoga mat here, it's rolled, it's cylindrical. So it's hard to stand on as it is because it's already cylindrical. It's not flat. And they're on that, and they're reached back like this, holding onto it almost like water skiing. Like a water skiing like triangle. They're holding back onto it, and then what happens is Jeff Probst, the host, he's cranking this big wheel, and it's releasing that rope, so they end up it's like the rope's getting more slack, so they end up leaning more forward, and they're basically like about to fall into some water. They're maybe like 10 feet up off the water. So it's just another very similar competition, just an endurance competition to see who can stay there and hold on to that the longest. I will definitely give a shout out to Elaine for having the best exit for doing a flip into the water when she fell off. That was pretty badass, if you ask me. It was pretty awesome. Everyone else just kind of like jumped in or dove in, and she like, did this flip, and that was pretty fun. I like Elaine a lot. I like Elaine and Janet probably the most of anyone. So Aaron ends up winning that competition for the guys. Missy ends up winning the competition for the girls, which again, they're very close allies. So there's Missy, there's Aaron. That's his second immunity challenge in a row. So of all of the immunity challenges that they've had so far, since the merge, he has won both of them for individual immunity. So that's pretty impressive. Also going to paint probably a pretty good sized target on his back. Now, also during this episode, Jamal ends up having to go to Island of the Idols. So what happened was Jamal and Karishma are walking and talking out in the woods. And they look up and they see this parchment paper hanging by a string, and it says, "You found me, I'm yours." And in the rules in Survivors, whoever touches it first gets it. So he touched it first, so he got it. And Karishma was a little bit salty. Now, she didn't say it to him, but she was talking to the camera like, "I saw that first, that should have been mine." Karishma, I would have loved if you got that. I wish that you did get that. I wish you would have touched it first and been a little bit more ambitious to go get it, because damn, that, I think, was like the nail in the coffin. So he takes this paper. It says he's going to the Island of Idols. He's all excited. He's like, can't wait to see what it's all about. He goes there. He sees Rob and Sandra. He's so excited. He's like, yes, these guys are like my idols. This is great. He goes in. They're like, all right, here's the thing. If something in Survivor seems too good to be true, it is. At the moment that you touch that note, you lost your vote at the next tribal council. So now Jamal can't vote at the next tribal council. Then they say, we wonder if you understand the art of sabotage. So you were sabotaged. You sabotaged yourself by taking something that was too good to be true, just like hanging there in plain sight. And now you have the chance to sabotage someone else. So they give him a blank parchment paper and a pencil, and they tell him, you can make anything. You can create whatever you want on this parchment paper and use it as you will if you want to sabotage someone. So he makes some fake advantage. It's like the luxury advantage or something. It's like, I don't remember what it even was supposed to have done, because it's so, I think, very poorly done. And he goes back to the island, and they're all like, oh, what happened? What happened on Island of the Idols? So he tells the story. Now, a decent number of people have already been to Island of the Idols who are still there, present. So they know that Rob and Sandra are there. They know that, so I'll recap people who have already been there. So of the people here, Nora has been to Island of the Idols. Jamal is the person who went to Island of the Idols this time, the sabotage lesson. Vince went to Island of the Idols. He's not there anymore. Kelly went to Island of the Idols, and she was gone by this point. Janet went to the Island of the Idols, right? Yeah, Janet went to Island of the Idols. And Elizabeth went to Island of the Idols. I think that's everyone. Did I miss anybody, guys? I think that's just about everybody. And so, like, Elizabeth, Janet, and Nora are still there, and they know the truth, all right? And Nora had a similar experience where she had to come back and tell the tribe a lie and try to convince them to do something. Her challenge was to learn the art of persuasion. She had to try to go persuade the tribe to allow her to be a certain position in the next challenge, and she failed, which ended up making her lose her ability to vote at the tribal council. So Jamal comes back, and he has this story where he tells everyone, well, I had to play a game. I had the choice to play this game of 50-50 chance odds. Now, already, let me tell you, Jamal is a very educated, well-spoken, articulate guy. I'm pretty certain he wouldn't take a game of 50-50 chance. I already would have been questionable. I would have already been questioning the validity and truth of what he's saying to me. I already know Nora came back and lied. Some of us know. Nora herself knows that. And Nora is not someone who you can tell a secret to, as we learned when she ratted out Kelly to Jamal about voting for Jack. So, I'm sorry, I need a little bit of water. So that's his first mistake, I think. So he supposedly takes his chances, 50-50 odds, and he wins. And he wins this benefit, luxury benefit or something. And then he but he said that, so he decided that he was going to take this reward and extend it as a peace offering to Dean, who, as far as anybody knows, he's definitely not allied with or friends with in any way, and he publicly gives this to him in front of the tribe. And Dean says, and if you don't know who Dean is, he's the blondish dude here. And Dean's like, well, I don't know if he's really giving me an advantage, or is he just giving me a big target on my back? They're all one tribe now. Because everyone now knows I have this advantage. None of that made sense. So he could have said a lot of different things. He could have said, what I think he should have done was come back and say that it was the game, like everyone else has said, and that he lost the game. And it told him, no game, better luck next time, or whatever the words are that they have all been using. And then privately pulled Dean aside separately at some time and said to him, hey, I actually won on Island of the Idols, and I think that we could work together moving forward, and here's the advantage that I got. I actually want to give it to you because I want this to be like a token of trust so that you know that I've got your back and we can work together, and this is like, again, like a peace offering, like an olive branch. They were all immediately like, is this real? Like, why would you do that? Why would you give it to someone else? Why would you give it to someone else in front of the entire tribe? What is your real gameplay here? It's obvious that you're just... Everyone, when he walked away, Nora was like... Everyone was kind of like, what? And Nora said, if someone gives you too many details, they're usually lying. So it was not very impressive gameplay on Jamal's part. And that was sad. So then they all go to tribal council, and they decide to split the vote in case somebody has an idol. They split the vote between Jamal and Karishma. All the women are supposed to vote for Jamal, and all the men are supposed to vote for Karishma, because it's about 50-50. Now, Janet plays her immunity idol at this point because they're still deeply talking. That was the council where they really talked a lot more about the Dan situation, and Janet was really involved. And Janet thought about quitting the game of Survivor, but everyone was like, Janet, no, we like you, we love you, we don't want you to go, like, don't go over this, it's not right. And so she decided to stay, and she played her idol, keeping her safe. But 2 people actually did vote for her, and that was a bit odd. I didn't fully understand why they voted for her, because everyone seemed to really know, like, what was happening. They were splitting the vote between Jamal and Karishma. So why anybody voted for Janet, I don't fully understand. But 2 people voted for Janet, and I'm trying to remember who they were. Do you guys remember who voted for Janet? One was Missy. She voted for Janet. And I think Karishma. Yeah, I think Karishma was the other one who voted for Janet. And I think Karishma just didn't know what was going on, right? Because she was being voted for, so, like, she didn't really know what the plan was. Obviously, if she knew, she would know that she was on the block, so she just kind of arbitrarily probably thought they were voting for Janet and just decided to vote with them and vote for Janet. But why Missy voted for Janet, I have no idea. I almost wonder if she, like, forgot that she was supposed to vote for Karishma, just voted for Janet. Like, I don't fully understand why that went down the way that it did. But what ended up happening was that more votes landed on Jamal than on... Oops, sorry, I should have done my little dramatic Xing out. More votes landed on Jamal than Karishma, and he ended up being the most recent survivor to be sent home. Dun dun dun. Which means that me and Frankie are now out of our little game, so we can't win. Our people did not win, but it was a 2-hour-long episode, which was good, and some really important topics and issues, I think, came up. And one thing that I said when I was watching it, too, is, like, so many people have so much to say about this, but it feels like they're not saying anything. Like, it just feels like it's just these generic statements that aren't really very helpful. Hey, Kyle, first comment on YouTube. Hey, Rick. Sounds torturous. And hey, Alberto. It's just like, can anybody really speak on this unless they were a victim? Like, does anyone else's opinion about this really matter except the actual victims? Because I've never been a victim. I mean, I've been sexually harassed, but I honestly think that most women probably have been sexually harassed. I've never been sexually, technically I've been sexually assaulted, but not like, to even say not really is kind of like in like a bar or a club or something. I've had my butt grabbed by strangers, and one of my friend's ex-boyfriends. Oh, that was so disgusting. And she like got with that guy a bunch of times after the fact. None of that matters in terms of like I still don't necessarily identify myself as a victim of sexual assault. I think I'm, you know, that's kind of like don't be there kind of thing. You know, if you're around a bunch of drunk guys and you know, that might happen. I think that's disgusting and men shouldn't behave in that way. But I've not been raped and I've not been sexually abused. And the most that has happened is I've had my butt grabbed over my pants, and, you know, it's maybe a little bit different level. So when that happens, I think I have every right to speak up and talk about it, but I certainly don't think I have any right to make up a story about somebody grabbing me or assaulting me or raping me. I think that would really be some, at least hopefully, very bad karma, and I hope that happens for those girls too, and I hope that Elizabeth and Missy get what they get. You know, they made their bed. I hope they have to lay in it, and we're just gonna have to see what the future in this season looks like. So thank you for the super hearts, Mark and Ellie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to do another broadcast after this. I thought this was going to take me longer to get through, but it didn't. So now I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do next. I do wanted to get a lot of math homework done, but I know it's really boring to watch me work on math homework. So I wonder how prevalent repressed sexual abuse is. Repressed? What do you mean, like people who can't remember it? Wait, you're surprised that I'm not, or what? Well, that was really, I mean, if you think about it in terms of the Me Too movement, Kelly was actually uncomfortable. She was actually creeped out by this guy from day one. She was saying, he makes me uncomfortable. The way he touches me, I really don't like it. So that was her. Now, these other girls started saying, me too, and then decided, well, no, not really. They're like, no, I was just saying that. Like, I was just, like, going with that, but I didn't really feel that way. And they said to him, no, man, I choose to sleep next to you. I like sleeping next to you. I love you. They're touching him. I'm like, it's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Hello, Kyoki. So, it was a bit of a downer. I hope the next episode is not so disgusting and more like last episode's energy was, because it was really fun to watch the last week's episode. So we'll see. So the people who are left in our little game, let's see, are Derek, Gina, Dan, Daniel, we have 2 Dans left, Amanda, Steph, Wolf Puppy, Lisa Sansusi, Casey, Matthew Gold, and Mark Gage. Who will win? Survivor. Only one way to find out. Keep watching. So I do this every week. Usually on Wednesday nights. I needed a break from the depression that ensued after that last episode. My throat hurts, so I really can't do ASMR right now. What do you guys want to do? I already went on the treadmill, so... Really, Brett? I mean, yeah, like, I think he's a creepy dude, but I also think that if you're not creeped out by it, then that's fine. Just don't say that you are if you're not. You know what I mean? Hey, Joanne. Because that was really, like Kelly was saying, oh my god, it was such a relief to hear that everyone else felt the same way that I felt about him. So, like, we need to take care of this problem. And then she gets voted out. By the way, Dean voted for her as well, who she saved with the Immunity Idol the week before, which is so frustrating. Karaoke. I feel like my throat hurts. I don't really want to talk anymore. Hi, hello. I'm trying to think. I have about an hour of content left. If you don't know, I go live every day, 7 days a week for 3 hours a day. Maybe I'll just do homework live. I know that's kind of boring to watch, but at the same time, I don't have to talk as much, maybe. Unless you guys want to talk, we can talk about anything you want. In my next broadcast, I'll just put up some kind of interesting topic for the title, and we can talk about that. Like, how's my hair look? I'm just kidding. That's not interesting. I have more interesting stuff to talk about. So we're going to do that. Yeah, karaoke is actually on the dare list. I'm a really bad singer, so... I hope that you guys enjoyed tonight's episode recap of Survivor, Season 39, Island of the Idols, Episode 8. We made it to the merge. And I made it to the merge and then immediately got voted out. Would you consider doing the Bachelor recaps in the future? That's my favorite trash TV. Actually, I'm not really into those kinds of ones. I'm sorry. Let's talk about Egg McMuffins. Oh my god, Will with the Egg McMuffins. Thank you, Brody. Okay, alright. Here we go. Hollywood. What? I already forgot what I said. Okay, I love you guys. I hope to see you on the next juice. Please follow me if you haven't already. And I'll be back in just a little bit with some really titillating conversation over my math homework. If you come in and talk to me about it, then we don't even have to do math homework. Okay, bye! This has been A Moment in Time with Taylor. I hope to see you on the next juice. And huge thank you to everyone that makes this show possible. I could just kiss your faces. At nextjuice.com/support. The link is in the description. Oh, Hollywood. Oh, yeah, like William Hung. That's the only way I'm going to Hollywood. She bangs.